Split Between Chapter 1, Split Between by Armand Rosamilia and Jay Wilburn. Split Between is a serial novel that will appear on both Jay Wilburn's Patreon page and on Armand Rosamelia's Patreon page. The odd number chapters will be on Jay Wilburn's page on the first of every month, and that the even numbered chapters will appear on Armand Rosamelia's page on the 15th of every month. Wilburn's chapters follow the strange events in Devil's Fork, South Carolina from the perspective of Jenna Colby. Rosamelia's chapters follow the same events from Eric Colby's point of view. You can enjoy the novel a few different ways. You can become a $1 patron on both pages and read all the chapters. We highly recommend this approach. Of course we do. We're biased. We want your money. You can also be a patron of one of the pages and follow the story from one character's perspective. It works either way, but the fullest experience is reading all the chapters. As you decide where to spend your dollars, you can enjoy chapters 2 and 4 from Armand Rosamilia in May and June of 2021. I'll need to fix that. I'll fix that later. Alright, for free, and you can enjoy chapters 1, 3, 5, and 7 from Jay Wilburn when they drop from May through August. Check out the master list with links to all the chapters as they drop each month. So that's how it works. I'm just reading you the story today. And again, this is free on my Patreon page. The next several chapters will be free as well. Split Between Chapter 1, published May 1st, 2021 by Jay Wilburn. Jenna Colby couldn't get her nose to stop bleeding as she packed in a rush to relieve her husband. Eric could be back any moment, and she wanted to be gone this time. Blood leaked between her pinched thumb and finger as she shoved a wadded handful of underwear into a carry bag she had packed and unpacked in secret 7 times in the last 3 months. A fine bag with good leather handles. It was sturdy, so it would only stretch so far. Jenna should have been well practiced at this point, but she was bleeding a lot this time. It added to her sense of dire panic in her one-handed escape act. He was a good man, though. Why leave a good man after she worked so hard to land him out from under all those other girls in the first place? That question had been enough to stop her the previous times, but it had a little less power now. She used precious space in the fine, sturdy bag to add a couple more pairs of socks bundled neat. Blood dripped down on her side of the comforter in long, dramatic streaks. It purled on the thick carpet as she ran from the clothes spilling out of the drawers to the clothes hung in order in the walk-in closet they shared. More trinkets of relative importance to her covered the bottom of the bag this time. She supposed she felt more sentimental since this was for real. Now, she bled heavy today, the pounding pulse in her temples from the cold thrill of knowing she was really leaving him this time wasn't helping her staunch the flow. Hangers thumped the underside of the shelf because she stretched the neck holes of collars off the end loops one-handed instead of removing them neat. The metal and plastic rattled again together, and a couple fell to the floor as she flung tops by the handful onto the bed behind her. She grabbed from different sections so she could gather warm weather clothes and cold weather stuff too. Eric had her organize their hanging things by weather and color, so she had to pull from different places unless she wanted to wear all red or all brown for the foreseeable future. If she got it wrong, even on her side of the closet, he fixed it. Never a word spoken, never a change in his attitude, but she noticed. She tried to get it right next time, but he'd quietly find something to fix with everything she did, from the closets to the refrigerator to the pantry to the checkbook. Well, the checkbook that he knew about anyway. She crammed about half the shirts she had tossed on the bed into the bag without the neat roll-up method that Eric had taught her, and which really did maximize the packing space. All the practice she had gotten with her many failures to launch had gone to waste because she couldn't stop bleeding enough to use both hands even after all her practice with nosebleeds. Now pants. He had bought her nice slacks and capris. She had bought her own things with money she'd earned on the side through freelance design and art. Book covers alone had paid well enough if she did them in volume. Then there was her allowance from Eric on top of what she could save from the allotted grocery money too. She'd stopped buying herself things once saving it up in secret became the real priority. in a different bank than Eric kept their other accounts, of course. Jenna wished she had a laptop so her work was portable, but this was one of many sacrifices. She went with 3 more pairs of jeans in addition to a pair she was wearing. She choked the throat of her bag with everything until it wouldn't zip. Eric's balls would pull up winter tight against his body at this sight. He might not even notice the bloody mess of her face first. She checked the bank envelope in the side pocket with the edges of the bills peeking out of the sharp paper top. She always found the border around dollars to be odd, not really green, not really white, sort of a sickly non-color in between. That shade described her mood to perfection. One more failed attempt to zip the bag, and she hauled her stout carry to the bedroom door. Taking one last look into the room she never expected to sleep in again was a mistake. There was no nostalgia because the blood distracted. It marred the carpet, spread in drops where she walked brisk. It in uneven pools where she stood and contemplated, and even splattered the walls and an open closet door frame where she'd struggled and turned about. It was a lot of blood, too much. Move faster, she ordered herself in a stuffy nasal tone. A wave of dizziness struck her. A third of the way down the stairs, and she tried to waver backward instead of forward. Holding the bag and her nose gave her no anchor to steady herself. She needed to let go of one, and she was taking a tumble. She let go of both. The bag rolled down the polished hardwood steps with authority and struck the landing like a dead body. She took the railing on one side and palmed the wall on the other. It was just all the blood, she thought, not losing it but seeing it. Sucking wet air through her raw nostrils brought on another sensation. She sneezed with burning force, and her eyes watered hot. She let out a low groan that sounded more like Eric than herself. She wiped her eyes on her sleeve, doing her best to avoid staining her shirt with her nose, and she took the rest of the steps to retrieve her bag. "Holy Christ," she said, looking up. Blood smeared the railing all the way down. A different shade of wood might have hidden it better, but Eric was particular. You marry a builder and a designer, and your house is going to be particular. A bloody handprint marked the pure white wall like a set design on a horror film. Eric liked those too. He wouldn't appreciate this, though. He place. She was leaving her mark on the place, even though she'd decided not to leave a note. Maybe a short apology would be in order. Something had fallen from her bag higher on the stairs. Going up to see what it was filled her with a wave of nausea. This was taking too long, and that was the wrong direction, and all that blood. She checked the side pocket of the bag and found her stash of money still in place. Whatever had fallen, she would live without. Thunder rolled outside. She felt it through the floor, and then she heard it. That got her moving. She took to the kitchen pantry and stuffed her pockets with grab-and-go snacks and foods. 2 water bottles stabbed into her mess of clothes in the mouth of the bag. She preferred them cold, but Eric said anyone who really drinks water wants it at room temperature. It also took up too much space in the refrigerator by his estimation. Their stainless steel Goliath of a fridge was the biggest she'd ever seen. She could barely reach the top shelves even on her toes. And it and all its room were all his now. Jenna hadn't bothered to hold her nose, so she left her marks through the kitchen too. Eric liked to clean, so it would give him something to do in her absence. A shadow fell over the house, darkening every window. The vibration brought a ringing tone from the custom light fixtures that hurt her ears. It wasn't steady like a jet engine or the constant chop of a helicopter. It came in big booms like the flip of dragon's wings. It sounded and felt low enough to land on the roof. Some dark creature has come to snatch me away for leaving such a good man as Eric Colby. That thought passed, as did the shadows with its vibrations. She made for the door. He wasn't really a bad guy. Even when she failed to meet his expectations, he fixed it himself, and still spoke to her kindly afterward. He didn't complain when she turned him down for sex. After 2 weeks, the asking got a little edge to it, but nothing that couldn't be reset in less than 30 minutes of indulgence. He liked her mouth better anyway, so sometimes that was all it took. The only reason she ever bled or her eyes grew dark were these damn allergies. He never laid a hand on her, never for any reason other than to hold her or rub her back. That didn't make him anything special, but she knew women who endured a rougher touch, and leaving Eric would be easier to justify if something like that were happening. But no hitting, no cheating that she suspected, and not even a raised voice, so why leave? The answer was complex and time was short. She opened the door and slammed it behind her as she ran for the Acura. Stowing her mess of a bag, she heard the voices of shouting children in the middle distance, somewhere beyond their back fence. Must have been a playground. Then adult voices joined the children, maybe a sporting event. Subsonic thunder shook the ground under her again. As she slid behind the wheel, she glanced up into clear sky, no dragons, no clouds. She looked in the rearview mirror for a short glance, then she had for a shorter glance than she had given the sky. Her nose had stopped bleeding, but her face was a smeared mess. What would people think of poor Eric if they saw her driving away like this? Her blonde-brown hair showed dark tips where she'd failed to contain the spread and splatter of blood. If not for her nose and chin, it might have looked like she'd done it on purpose as a sort of soft punk rebellion a woman pushing 30, such as herself, might do. The bloody clumps in the hair broke the illusion a little bit, though. Like the hardwood inside the house, a different shade would have hidden the mess better. She hoped she remembered to pack her shampoo with her toiletries. That whatever fell out of on the stairs was not the shampoo. Jenna looked over the seat to back out of the driveway and then headed for the front of the neighborhood a couple miles over the low speed limit. After that, she only had the vaguest notion where to go from there. The front door stood open ajar. She saw it as the house retreated in the side mirror. It really needed to be closed. If she went back, she might find herself unpacking again, frantically cleaning the house herself before he returned. Eric would just have to find the door hanging open when he got there this time. She'd call a friend later to get him a message that she was fine. After enough distance, she'd let him know. Not why, not yet, but just that she was well. Through her closed car doors and windows, she still heard the shrill children and loud adults. They must have been having a swell time, but in her state of mind, it all sounded like terrible screaming to her.